Hi everybody, I'm Queen Jelly and welcome back to my toy box. I run a doll and toy themed YouTube channel. I try to post at least once weekly. Sometimes I will post multiple times a week. It really just depends on what dolls I have available and what kind of time I have to film. But I am super excited for today's video, so I'm not going to spend much longer before we go ahead and just get into them. I did already open up the outside of their box just so I could get a picture for the last video to kind of tease this video in the last one. But I haven't actually looked at the dolls themselves yet, so I'm very, very excited. We are going to be opening the Mattel Creations dolls. We'll talk a little bit about it in a minute. But I did order mine from Mattel Creations, and I want to go ahead and get into them, and then we will talk about their kind of release. But if you are not interested in their release and you just want to see me unbox the dolls, you can use the timestamps that are down below to skip around. We'll have timestamps for when I talk about certain things down here or when I talk about them on the desk. But how I like to do it is kind of talk about my first impressions of the dolls, things like how I got them, that kind of stuff. Then we'll go up to the desk, we'll look closely at the box, then we'll unbox it. Then we'll talk about the dolls out of box, and that sort of thing. So there will be timestamps down below if you're interested in any of those particular things. But without all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get them where at least I can see them because I am so excited. All right, so I'm just going to take that tissue paper off, and here is the outside of the box. So it does appear to be the sliding design that we've had recently, which personally, I'm an out-of-box collector, so like either way is fine with me. But if I was an in-box collector, I think I would like this better because the issue with the flaps that we had was that like if you couldn't really keep them open without having something else to hold them open. This you can kind of slide and like open as much as you want or as little as you want to kind of display them in the box. So I do like that. Sorry, my back is hurting a little bit, so I'm trying to find a comfortable position. But here is the outside of their box, which again we'll look at when we're up on the desk usually. Here is the side where you can see some images of them, and then here's the back. Unless this is technically the front, we'll find out when we open them. But this has them on the front, so I think this is the front and this is probably the back because this has more images of the dolls up close. And then this side says Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, and then we slide this apart. Yeah, this is the front. Oh my goodness. There they are. Again, we'll look at them with, let's take this off because that's what's causing that reflection. Oh, they're so pretty. I'm so excited for these. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about them for a second before we move up to go and open them. So for me, I personally am a huge fan of Betelgeuse. It's something that growing up, it was actually one of my sister's favorite movies, and I like watch it all the time with her. And then kind of as I got older, I got a really appreciation for it on my own, and it kind of became a hyperfixation for me too. So it's something we kind of share together. And so I've always really loved Betelgeuse, but especially more as an adult. And then recently they came out with Betelgeuse, which for anyone who's like, there's already a Monster High Betelgeuse set. This is technically for Betelgeuse 2. Which is Betelgeuse. So technically this is a separate movie. They do kind of wear outfits that are similar to something that was in the first movie, but in the second movie, it was a callback to the first movie. And then they did a doll collection around them. So again, there's many thoughts about a lot of stuff, but like I said, I'm very excited about having Betelgeuse dolls in general because I don't really have like a list of like grail dolls. If a doll isn't within a reasonable price range to me, I kind of just act as if it doesn't exist because I know I'm not going to get it. And I know even if I could get it, like if I somehow randomly came into that money, I probably wouldn't spend it on that. I would probably buy a bunch of cheaper dolls. But if I really had to like pick a grail doll, I would probably say the original Betelgeuse set. I know when I first started collecting Monster High, I didn't really know how bad things were gonna get, and I had started collecting after those were released, so it's not like I missed them like as they were coming out. I just wasn't collecting it at the time, but I kind of kept hoping I would run into them like in person at like one of my events that I go to all the time. And have not found them, nor if I did find them, the one time I saw them at MegaCon, they were $1,500, so $1,500, and I am not paying that for $2. I'm sorry, I'm not. But if I really had to pick a grail, I would probably say them. So when they announced that they were doing another set of Betelgeuse dolls, I kind of expected them to do different characters than they'd done before. I didn't expect them to do Lydia and Betelgeuse again. I was kind of expecting like maybe that they would do like the stepmom and then like Lydia's daughter, since we knew it was gonna be a set for most likely for Betelgeuse. So I was really surprised when they did the two of them again. I personally am not upset by it because, again, I get to have them. I know a lot of people were upset because they're like, we've already had these characters, like what have you. But personally, number one, there's also a second Elvira doll coming out, and I'm not hearing the same criticism about Elvira that I've been hearing about Betelgeuse, where it's like, why are we getting the same characters again? And in my opinion, these are at least very different than the other Elvira. But also, I'm not complaining about getting a second Elvira because personally for me, I have the first one, so I will not be getting the second one, just so we're clear on that. But it doesn't bother me that another one's coming out because these are for girlies like me and people like me, but I say girlies just because that's how I talk. But people like me who didn't get the first set, and so we have an opportunity now to still get these characters just in a different version. And if you really like Betelgeuse, if I had collected the first set, I probably would have still gotten the second set too. But the intent of this second release is for people like me that didn't get them the first time. So yeah, to you it's the same characters again, but to me it's my opportunity to get characters that I love that I wasn't able to get the first time. And I look at Elvira the same way. If I wasn't collecting at the time, or if I had somehow missed her, or for other people that weren't able to either have the money or weren't collecting or missed her for some reason, whether it was because it sold out or whatever, and weren't able to get the first Elvira, they now have a second chance. Even though she's different, they now have a second chance to add that character to their library. And so like, I'm happy that there's another Elvira launch, and it doesn't affect me or change the value to my collection of the one that I had previously. So reprints of characters, especially of really, really popular releases, don't bother me, especially since I really like that these are different. Like, I think it would bother me if it was just a reprint of the first ones. Yeah, sure, I would love it because it would get an opportunity for me to get them that I didn't have. But I could understand that criticism of an exact reprint of a doll we've already had. But at least these are different outfits, and again, they're for different people. So if you didn't like it, I'm sorry, but I'm so happy that they did this. So happy because I now own Betelgeuse dolls and I'm freaking out. Like, the fact that I'm touching them right now is just surreal to me. So I'm super happy about that. What I'm also gonna have words about is my rant about their release. For me, everything went smoothly. So my rant about the release obviously is not about me personally, but it is about how I kind of perceived the launch and kind of how I perceived how it went on the other half. So, one, Mattel Creations released these as essentially fan club exclusive dolls. They said 24-hour window, fan club can buy. If there's any left over, they will go to general release. They said that from the first time that they posted these dolls online. I don't know if they said it from the very, very beginning, but the second that this listing went up, they said it that way. And also in that listing, it said, at this time, you may find them available on Amazon. That's their mistake. So, I think the fact that they released these as fan club exclusives on the website, and then they sold out in 5 minutes, so that means there was no general release, that is one thing. And anyone who's complaining that there wasn't a general release didn't pay attention, because they said from the second that this listing went up that that was how it was going to work. Normally, in the other previous releases that we've had where they've done a preview for the fan club, they said, we have X amount set to the side. We don't know what X is, but we have X amount set to the side, and then X amount to sell to general release the next day. This time, they did not say that. They said, what we have is going to fan club, and if there's any left, then anyone else can buy it. So they were limited to 1 because it was technically a pre-sale for fan club as opposed to 2. So I'm sure that that's upsetting for people who collect in and out of box. That I will give them. The mistake that Mattel made was not in releasing these on Mattel Creations and then a general release on another website. The mistake that they made was partnering with Amazon. because I have never seen Amazon successfully do a drop at a very specific time for a very specific limited item. Links show up way too early and people can pre-order this stuff months ahead of time. They come in and out of stock sporadically, even on the day that they're supposed to have them, and they have the stock for them. And they don't have a very specific time as to when things come out. They're not set up to drop things at midnight or 12 a.m. or 9 p.m. or whatever time they decide that they want the drop. That's not how Amazon as a website is set up. So I think it was a good idea to separate their stock and vary it to try and allow more people access to it. I really think that was a right decision and something that I think we could potentially see again in the future. However, I think the problem was in their partnership with Amazon that caused the Amazon half of the drop to be such a mess. But what I will say, and what I said before in another video, and I'm going to say it again, is that for me personally, that $10 purchase of having the fan club was worth it to be able to order these off Mattel Creations and not have to worry about searching Amazon up and down. And I know people are complaining. They're like, oh, it was $10 for fan club and I'm not getting treated as well as the people that bought it off Amazon because they already have it. Like, I've literally seen comments like that, which, first of all, girl, I already have mine. Second of all, a Prime membership is a lot more expensive than a fan club. I should know because right now I don't have Prime at all because I don't have the money to pay for the Prime membership, but I paid for my fan club membership like a while ago. But I didn't have money to pay for Prime because I bought my dolls. And to me, that's more important. And you have to kind of pick and choose these battles. But like, I don't know. I just see a lot of controversy and a lot of upset about these dolls that I don't think that they deserved. I think there's just a lot of aggression right now, and it's kind of getting aimed at the wrong things. But I guess that's just my opinion on it. Again, I love the dolls. That's why I bought them. And so and I was able to get them on release from Mattel Creations using my fan club that I already have paid for. So maybe my opinion's skewed on it, but and I know I would have been upset too if I had missed them. I know I would have, but at the same time, the vitriol that people are putting on a company, and I'm not trying to defend them because they're still a company. They're not my friend, but that's the thing, is they're also not your friend. And so people having this vitriol towards them as if they, broke their heart, as if they were, this friend that gave them this promise of something and then didn't deliver. But it's a company. And at the end of the day, as long as they sold their dolls, and they don't really care till who. And I'm sorry, but that's just reality. And again, at the end of the day, I love them. Obviously, I spend a lot of money on them. I collect them. It's my passion. You can see my room is full of them. You can see my channel is full of them. But they're just toys at the end of the day. If you miss them, you miss them. And if you keep buying from resellers, they're gonna keep buying the dolls so that you can't. That's, at the end of the day, that's really all it is. So the next time you go to send an email to Mattel, because I feel like this whole rant is very targeted to specific people, but the next time you go to send him an email to Mattel to complain about how you're now going to have to buy it from resellers, just don't buy it from the resellers, because the more you buy it from the resellers, the more they have money and know that their inventory is going to sell to then do it to the next release. If we just stop buying from resellers, they're going to sit on their stock, and then they're going to realize that there's no more resale value in these dolls, and then they're going to stop. But you continue to buy from resellers, and so you continue to fuel the resellers to buy more dolls. The more you buy from them, the more they're going to buy from under you. That's just the reality of it. So you can tisk and shame all you want, but you're talking to a corporation and people who have no shame. They're not going to change, okay? The only way to change either of these things is with your money. And so as long as you continue to buy from resellers are going to continue to buy out from Mattel. Period. With that being said, I think I've ranted enough. I think it's about time we stop damaging the integrity of these dolls and we get on to actually opening them and enjoying them. So thank you so much for watching this section. I know, again, I ranted for a bit, but I really had a lot of feelings out there. So thank you so much for watching this part, and then we're going to move up to the desk. And while we do that, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Again, it really does help out the channel, and it really helps you if you like the content and want to find more of it, especially because I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're almost to 900, so I think it's possible, but it is all up to you guys. So again, thank you so much as always. I really loved getting to talk to all of you, so please continue up with that engagement, and yeah, we'll see you on the desk. Okay, we're on the desk. One last teeny tiny rant before we actually open these dolls. The fact that they release these as Valentine's dolls kind of gives me the ick, because these characters are not a couple by any means. I know they have a wedding scene in essentially both movies, but they are not a couple by any means or any stretch of the imagination. So that part kind of gives me the ick, but I did buy them because they were Valentine's dolls. I bought them because they were Betelgeuse and Lydia. So with that being said, we can actually look at the dolls. So here is a close-up of, again, the backside of the outer box. So up here we have some details. So it says Betelgeuse here in the spider web. And then on this side, it also says Betelgeuse, but in like the cracks. And then we have the image of the dolls here, which I kind of wish that, I guess this hand does split the crack, but then this hand's kind of off to the side a little bit. Then we have a cloud back here with the dolls acting as the cake topper. And then we have some little skeletts and some beetles and other things all along the cake. And then again, here is the front. Very simple, just pictures of the dolls, but that's what we usually have for the front. And then of course the side for these Skullector dolls. So pretty standard. And then the top, I thought said Skullector, but I guess I'm crazy. Maybe it's the top of the inner box that I saw that on. Again, here is the slide, and you can see me. I'm going to take that part off in a second, but I just wanted to show again what it looks like fully together. And then the back of the box, of course, has writing on it, so we will go ahead and read that. And it says, Betelgeuse and Lydia dolls. Betelgeuse, wedding planning extraordinaire. Family trapped in the afterlife and you just can't get them out. Cursed with 2 left feet and boring music taste. Want to spice up your nuptials with a little fright and delight? Call Betelgeuse. The afterlife's leading event hijacker and premier poltergeist tastemaker. Perfectly puppeted waltz. Guaranteed grand romantic gestures. Straight from your heart, unexpected guests. You betcha. One-of-a-kind wedding dress and free veil of truth serum. With every contractual binding signature. You can't beat it, can ya? Please note, Betelgeuse cannot be held liable for any sandworm drop-ins. Monster High Skullector. And you notice how his name is highlighted and it's specifically on there 3 times. The idea is that you're summoning your doll. But here on the inside, we do also have a side that just has Betelgeuse on it and a side that just has Lydia on it. And then we can go ahead and take this plastic piece off. And then on the inside, the print is fairly similar to the print on the back, except of course there's no image of them, but you can see the same cake design here on the inside. I think that's about it. So we'll go ahead and get them unboxed. So, what is this? So I have a few, okay, so the way that she's packed, there also seems to be like a second set of ties here underneath to like keep the veil down besides the ones that she was packed with potentially. So this may have been like an extra piece in there for like packing purposes, but because I can't see, like, I watched back the footage, like, I can't see anywhere where it would have cut this off, and like, why is it taped like this? And like, it's almost, to me, also looks like, you see her hair is kind of like jagged here. It's almost like this part didn't get cut, because this is almost kind of like similar length, so it's almost like it didn't get the final trim it was supposed to, and like this got left in there. But like nothing else in her hair is or was taped. Like this was clearly taped like this. So what? I'm gonna have to like look at other people's like reviews and see if anyone else knows anything about this. If anyone else had a similar experience. See if maybe, like I said, these parts are supposed to be cut and got missed and that's what happened. But like, what? That just feels really weird. Like, but yeah, we'll look at that in a minute, I guess. Also, like, y'all, do you see that? Do you see that now? Her head was literally squished on her body. I had to pull it up because I was like, her neck looks way too short. She looks like she's like sticking out to Kingdom Come. Like, I felt like that way my Venus head kind of felt like it was pushed a little bit forward. But like, I tried that and nothing happened. But this one I was able to like actually like pull up. What is going on with my Lydia? That's a weird. I don't know, but she seems fine now. Seems better. I don't know. Again, whew, okay. We're gonna take a deep breath and we're gonna start over. All right, so several deep breaths later and a little bit of emailing, we are gonna try this again. So for right now, I did go ahead and send an email to Mattel that was like, hey, I found this in my doll. Any idea what the deal is? Obviously, like I said it a lot nicer than that. But as of right now, I'm not going to wait until I hear back from them. If anything actually actively happens from it, which they probably won't, I'll probably update it in like a short or something. But for right now, we just kind of have to move on. Obviously, we're going to take that into consideration because, again, I spent almost $100, or actually with shipping and everything, over $100 for these two dolls. So, like, obviously, like, we want them to be good quality and in good condition. But like, I also know that things happen, and I also know that there are a lot worse things that could have happened to my dolls than what did, because so far the one is an issue with something on the back of her head, which obviously like most of the time you're not going to see anyway, and it's kind of corrective. I probably will like trim this up after I find out like what the deal is. I'll probably just kind of trim this part off, and just because I think that's really what happened, is that this piece just got missed getting trimmed and they just didn't get that cleanup piece out. I really don't think that like this much hair accidentally got chopped off. I think it's just that this part didn't get cleaned up. But like I said, I won't know for sure right away, so it's really not something that we can worry too much about. We have to just kind of move on and look at the rest of the dolls otherwise besides that. And the first thing that we're going to look at is the collector's, or the certificate of authenticity. Again, this has a really nice feel to it. It's a nice smooth cardstock, and I do like the like shiny, I know it makes it hard to read on the camera, but I do like the like shiny details on it. Again, it makes it feel very official. And it says, this certifies that your Monster High, Skullector, Betelgeuse, and Lydia dolls materialized through the collective efforts of designers and artists at Mattel, and is signed by Rebecca Shipman. And then has the Warner Brothers Beetlejuice logo down here, or the copyright information for Beetlejuice, I should say. And then on this side here, it has the product code for the dolls and says 2024 Mattel. And then in the back it says Mattel Creation Certificate of Authenticity, which again, we are only in February, so these dolls did come out for 2025, but they were obviously produced in 2024 and then got sold in early 2025. We'll go ahead and I guess start with Lydia. I was trying to decide, but we're going to start with her. Again, as I did mention in that clip before, her head was squished down, but I was able to pull it up. When I pulled it up, it made a nice, like, clean, like, thump, and that was also part of why I kind of waited a minute to make sure that it wasn't going to slide back down. If it seemed like it was continuously, like, stretched out and about to slide down, I would have done a hot water boil on her, just to soften up the plastic and get it to remold. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that whatever happened, I don't know if it was when it was packaged or if I did something to it. It's really hard to tell from the footage. I tried to look back. But either way, she seems to be okay right now. Her head turns and like tilts and everything, so nothing seems to be broken or out of place. Everything seems fine. So that again is something that we're just gonna kind of mention because I'm very honest about my stuff. But we're gonna kind of, at least as best as possible, move past it. So they did each come with a like loose accessory. So for Lydia, it is this bouquet, which they kind of made it almost purse-esque by giving it this handle across the top. So she's not just holding it in her hand, but you can see in the flowers, you can see in the flowers are some little skullettes, as well as looks like hanging down some like worms and stuff like that. So it's very Monster High-esque, but also very Beetlejuice-esque, obviously. And then we have these kind of like vines like wrapping around the top to make the handle piece. It is all just a solid red plastic. The casing around the stems is this like spiderweb material, which is pretty typical for anything that they kind of do with this kind of like large open space. They just kind of give these like graded lines into it to try and make it look more like a spider web. And then it does look like it's tied down here around the bottom and just kind of a blank base here. So nothing super spectacular, but it is a nice cute extra detail that really kind of blends in the whole look together. As for Lydia, if we start with the top of her hair, she does have black hair, which again has varying heights to it, but it does go to about her bottom here. It doesn't really go past it. You can see when she sits down where it kind of stops. It is in a half up style, so we have it pulled back here, and then like I said, in this little small area here that we've been talking about, and then it looks like there is a comb here that's holding on the veil. The veil is multiple layers of tulle. Again, right now it is currently still stapled to the back of her head. I haven't decided yet if I want to take those out, but there is the rest of it. Again, just like a plain solid black, but that is because that's what Lydia has. This is very, very accurate to her look. There is a red rubber band here holding this up. And then she has some spiky bangs that are held together with some actually fairly light spray, to be honest. Like the ends are a little bit crunchy, but like this doesn't feel like super heavy. Like these move pretty freely. So this isn't that bad as far as like gel and stuff. They're pretty cute. And again, in my opinion, fairly accurate to her style. And then for her face, she just has red eyeshadow underneath and above her eye, and then some black liner, as well as her black eyebrows. And it all stands out very much against her very pale skin color. And then she has a kind of neutral lip. As some people were pointing out, she does have pinholes in her ears as if she was intended to have earrings, but she doesn't. I don't know if the original Lydia has them, but people were saying that it is just part of the sculpt because it is a reused sculpt. For her dress here, it is made out of tulle, which again is fairly accurate to the kind of style of the dress that she has. I overall like really, let me zoom out a little bit, really like this dress. I think it's really cute. I mean, obviously her original one is a lot like fuller. It's like a full length dress. Again, it's intended to be like a wedding dress, so it's a little bit like fuller in the actual dress, but I really like this. It feels very stylized for Monster High, as we've come to see. So I don't know. Personally, overall, I like the dress, but again, we'll go back to the smaller details. She has a bow here. It is a separate piece that is her collar. It's a little plastic bow with a skull in the middle. You can kind of see it there if it focuses. And then these sleeves are full length sleeves. They kind of have a little bit puff here at the shoulders and then a ruffle around the wrist. And then the mesh continues over this solid piece here for the top. And then we have 1, 2, 3 layers for the skirt. Actually 4 layers. So there is a dark red tulle here on the top, and then the same red tulle here underneath it, and then a layer that has a embroidered like little polka dots, and this layer kind of has like a shredded look to it. And then underneath that is the knee length skirt that is kind of a handkerchief style. So you kind of have these little points all the way around it. It is Velcroed in the back, but it is all one piece, and it is sewn here. So the skirt layers are all sewn to stay in place from the back. Something I did not know until I had her unboxed is that these tights actually are more like leg warmers or like super tall socks. So they do not have a like crotch area, but they do go all the way up to the upper part of her legs, which again, I've talked about this in other videos before. Sometimes with tights, they will like cut off the toes, or like the foot area of the tight, just to kind of like save space and like save material. And as long as the illusion that they are full tights is pulled off and there's not like a huge obvious gap between the shoe and the tights, it doesn't bother me. So I will say that the same applies here. Would I have liked them to be full tights? Sure. But the fact that as long as the dress is down, you can't tell that they're not full tights means that the illusion worked, and therefore it does not bother me that they are not full tights. It's just kind of interesting since they do go so high up on her legs that I'm surprised they didn't just finish them. But it could have also been like, again, you see she has a lot of layers and stuff on. So sometimes they'll do things like that too to kind of keep the bulk down, because it could have been that if she added another layer underneath, then it like stretched out the waist too much and then it didn't like make the same silhouette. So there's always reasons for things like that. Sometimes the reason's just cutting cost. But whatever it is, I don't mind it because it does pull off the illusion. However, I still wanted to point them out in case it's something that would bother you, because everyone is different and has different opinions on what they do and don't like in dolls. For her shoes, we'll go ahead and pop them off so we can take a look at them and show that they are all the way down to the toes. So at least they're not just like essentially tubes. They are still kind of just like very, very tall socks. And they are made out of a nice material that kind of feels similar to like a legging. So they're kind of like a cottony material with just a little bit of a stretch. Not a lot, but they feel like either like leggings or like really thick tights. So I do like them a lot. They're really, in my opinion, good quality for what they are. And then we have her shoes. I'm not sure how I feel about this like super boxy toe, but I don't like hate it, because like it is an interesting silhouette, because like, again, normally a toe box, like you either have like these like super pointed toes or these kind of like rounded toes. But if you look at like Lydia's shoe, it like rounds out but then goes super flat down at the front. So it's not like fully like domed, but I think they're really cute. Let me see if I can get a good focus on them. So you can see some little spiderweb details here at the toe. And then, of course, it's a Mary Jane style. So it has this little skull here and then some more spiderweb details at the top. This red area here is fairly simple. Again, it's just like a little Mary Jane, but they did give them, again, this like boxy toe to kind of give it a little bit of a different silhouette. But then on the heel, we do have some sculptures. These are from the original movie. They are done by her stepmother, Delia. I think this is actually a really cute detail. We saw these leaked quite early, which is why we thought that there was going to be a Delia doll in this set, just because these are her sculptures. But again, I know a lot of people like don't like the mismatched heels or like the object heels, but I personally still really like them. I think it gives a lot of character to a very otherwise simple design. So I am not against them. I think they're super cute. This one has always been one of my favorite sculptures. I just love all the little arms, and I love the scene when it like grabs them. So these are really cute, and I think that's all I have for Lydia. I think it's time to move on to Betelgeuse. So I am gonna say, as we move on to Betelgeuse, I don't hate that they're a femme character. I just think it's an interesting choice, especially I think that since it's the second time they've released these dolls, they could have done a mask doll for this one since they did a femme for the first one. But I also get it. That's kind of the style that they go with. Obviously, like for dolls in general, but including Monster High, like female dolls just tend to do better. That's why they like gender bent like Chucky back there. But obviously they didn't gender bend Frankenstein, because if they gender bend Frankenstein, then that's just Frankie, and then it would be like a special edition Frankie with the Bride of Frankenstein. So that's why they didn't with that one. And then I think with Jack, I think because it's Disney, even though they currently have the distribution rights for Disney, obviously it's a little bit different when it comes to them. They have to be a little bit more careful with them, I feel like. So I appreciate that they didn't gender bend either of those, but I also obviously don't have anything against the gender bending because I also have Chucky. I just think it was an interesting choice. I'm not sure why they went with it, other than, like I said, because female dolls tend to do better. And again, obviously they didn't re-sculpt or do anything like that for these dolls. They just used the same ones that they had before and just gave them new outfits. So I also understand why they did a femme a second time, but it's just kind of interesting. I would have thought that after the comments from the last one that they would have made that change. But again, I'm not against it, and I still want the first dolls, so I'm not like trying to complain or anything. I'm just trying to, say how I think, I guess. But for our Betelgeuse, we have their hair. It is crimped, so I'm hoping that's why it feels so dry. But I'm not sure. It definitely does feel very dry. But again, I mean, that's kind of fitting for Betelgeuse. So it may just be that they didn't treat the hair the same way that they normally would to kind of give it this like dry, crunchy fullness that it has. But it is very full, especially with all this crimping here. So they have a straight across hairline here on the front, but actually I noticed that if you push their hair to the side a little bit, you can see that they do have a part line. So they do have the ability to be restyled. They just have the very first layer just kind of pushed back because it's stylized with this headband. So the headband's just pushing the hair back. And again, it makes this like really big full hairstyle, which I really like. It is a little layered. And then the headband, as I was pointing out, is black and white stripes. So it kind of has that feel of like the sandworm, which I'm obsessed with, like sandworms. Then for our Betelgeuse, they are wearing earrings. It did take me a minute to figure it out, but these are the little beetles from the poster, the little beetle guys. Again, because I was like, they're humans sitting in chairs? Like, what are they? And then I realized that the shell here was the little like wing casings, and that's how I figured out that they were little beetle guys. Like for the first movie, and it might be in the second movie too, but definitely in the first movie he has a little poster that has beetle guys with like a big hammer on it, and I'm pretty sure that that's what these are sculpted to be like. I do like on their head that they have this sprayed on part or like hairline here, because that is something that Betelgeuse has, is this kind of like mold going around his head, and they kind of use kind of did that here with just like spraying this on. And then there's the same, like, I like how they did it as the blushing on the cheek to kind of feminize it. That's kind of something I like to do. Let me clarify that statement. I also cosplay as a femme Betelgeuse. So I like using the mold on my face for like contours and like beauty marks, that kind of thing. So I do like that they did that here with this Betelgeuse design. And then for their face, they have purple eyeshadow with a little bit of red in there. And of course they did this big like overarching purple because again, that's very essential for Betelgeuse. I like that they also gave her these purple eyebrows to kind of like blend it in and give it a big like spot, because it's intended to kind of make their eyes look a little bit more sunken in, a little bit more hollow. So I really do like that they did that for them. And I like all this black detail here. They definitely have a lot more going on in their eyes than Lydia did. But I think it's really pretty. And then, because honestly, this kind of also has like a beetle-like shape with this like big swirl at the end, kind of looking like antennas here. And then it's kind of like a beetle body and like little legs going off of it. I don't know if that's the intent, but that's kind of how I'm reading it. And then for their lips, they have these really pretty like forest green here. And again, Lydia was pale, but Betelgeuse is pure white. So they're like bone white. So they're even paler, which of course helps make their makeup stand out a lot. So I love that. And then the material that they have for this suit is so soft. Like I don't want to like ever stop touching it. It's like this like super soft, like almost spandexy type material. Again, it has about the same amount of stretch as the tights did, but it's like a different, like more, again, more nylon-y, more spandexy, not it's like super like thick cotton as like these were. For Betelgeuse though, they do have a suit here. So they have a suit jacket as well as the pants. The pants do appear to be sewn to the shirt though. There is a button loop here that is the opening, which has a stretchy, like you can see that like stretch there so that it can pop open, but I am not going to open it because I know I will struggle bust to get that closed again. But again, you can see the stitching back here and see that the top and pants are one piece, but the jacket is a separate piece that pins or that closes on top of it. That's pretty typical for a suit on a doll. Again, like I was talking about with the tights, sometimes they do have to cut material, one, just for cost, but two, also to make them look less bulky, because if you actually have as many layers on a doll as a human would have on, it looks a lot thicker just because of the dolls being so small. So in order to give the illusion of a full sleeve, they've instead added these little cuffs at the bottom of the jacket here. So again, if you were to take this off, you would have a tank shirt that's attached to the pants here. So obviously you want to leave that jacket on, but if you really don't like it, you can take it off. It is possible. It just, I wouldn't recommend it because again, it would be really hard to get back on unless you are very good with small details like that. For the lapels, it is a like pleather material. It is very soft though, so hopefully it won't get like where it's really sticky. It does go all the way up around the top, and you can see that the material is printed all the way on the back as well. I just want to check something really quick while their hair is up. They have a 2015 stamp here on the back of their head. Let me see. And Lydia says 2014. So those are, yeah, those are two different years. So they could be dolls sculpts that they previously had for other dolls before they even became Betelgeuse and Lydia for the first set, but as far as I'm aware, these are the same sculpts that they used for the original Betelgeuse and Lydia. Then we have this tie piece here, which let me see. Yes. Okay, it's on a small plastic, it's currently rubber banded to them, I'm going to leave that there, but there is small plastic part that goes around the back of their neck that is open in the back, just like Lydia's necklace is. So if you did not like this bow tie, you could remove it. It does have a skull in the center, just like her bow. And then of course we have the ruffled shirt here, right here, and we have the two collar pieces there. And then the jacket is a waistcoat, so it does go past their waist, and it has this cute detail here where it kind of cuts in the front and then has these big tails in the back, again giving her a like beetle-like look, because again, they kind of sit up a little bit. The stitching here around the edges is very firm. I don't believe there's like any wires or anything in it, but it's just the material that they use to make it kind of makes it really firm. And I just noticed that there's also pleather lining all the way up the backside of the jacket, up to about where, yeah, that makes sense. So anywhere where it's open like this, and then as soon as it gets to this button area, because this is all closed off, they cut off the pleather. So you can kind of see that where that gapping is, which again is one of those things where as long as it pulls off the illusion, I don't care that it's not complete. Because again, you want to kind of, one, for budget, and two, just for look, you want to kind of reduce the amount of fabrics that you have layered if you can. I would, however, have liked to have seen the shirt and pants be separate. That's still something that I don't know if, because like you have to still sew it completely and then sew it separately together because they're two different materials. So I still don't entirely know like how much of a difference it makes to sew them together versus sew them separately, because I feel like the only difference really separately and together is the Velcro and like hemming it, but either way you have to hem it before you can put it together. The only difference really is that they share one piece of Velcro instead of two separate ones. So I still don't really know why and what the difference is between those two things. But as you can see, the pants do have the same pattern as the top does, the jacket top, I should say. And it goes all the way down to their shoes. And there is actually kind of a little bit of an extra material there. So it kind of folds over the top of the shoe just a little bit, which is kind of nice. It's not enough that it makes it look messy, but enough that it makes it look like really full. Oh, sorry. I realized I wasn't even showing their ankles. Sometimes I stop and I'm like looking at the dolls while I'm talking, so I don't really realize sometimes when they're not in frame. So I do apologize about that. And then we come to their shoes. Now, I do have a tiny confusion on them because I honestly didn't know that they were, you can see kind of, let me actually take it off so you can see better. They're actually an open toe design, but they're the same exact bone white that Betelgeuse themselves is. So you can't really tell that they have all these like stripes and open toes. So kind of wish that these were like maybe like an off-white or like a cream color, just so that when they're on her feet, they don't just blend directly into her feet. But maybe that was the point. I don't know. I'm not the designer and I'm not that familiar with what shoes Betelgeuse wears in the movie. Like that's not something that I look at as far as for this particular outfit. But for their shoes, they are, like I said, this like bone white, and they have this kind of like very almost, I don't know how to describe it, this like Victorian style, because like see how it's like cut here in the back. They kind of look like they're supposed to be very vintage, but at the same time kind of modernized by like, again, opening that toe and like cutting this across the top. But like if you had this as like as a solid piece, this would kind of look like a Mary Poppins boot, right? Where it has that like cut here in the back and then like a lot of buttons all the way down the side. But again, they kind of open it up to kind of make it more like modern, more like stylized. And then speaking of those beetles with the hammer, that is actually what the heel is made out of. And this one actually has the hammer. So you can kind of see now how I said that like that's what the earrings were supposed to be like, is like this little guy here. They just took the hammer away, or kind of made the hammer into the like the peg that sticks into her ear. For the other heel is going to be Betelgeuse's tombstone. I really think that this was a nice touch. I think that these both very much feel like Betelgeuse, and definitely fit their character. And I think these are a good choice for them. I like the sculptures on these ones. I'm not taking back the statement that I made earlier, but at the same time, like I could have seen them do something that was a little bit more personal to Lydia herself. But again, I have no problem with those, but it would have been interesting to see them give her something more personal. But I'm assuming it's because that's what they did probably with the first set of them. I don't know, again, because I don't have them. So maybe that's why they, just wanted to change the designs on this one. But I digress. The last thing I want to point out before we finish to final thoughts is this heart right here. So it is kind of an semi-opaque material, and it is an anatomical heart. Again, this was intended as kind of like the Valentines set. So this is kind of how they tied that in. It does have like some stitching here on the front. You can kind of see that. You can definitely see that better in the camera than you can in real life. And then as you saw here, it has a ring in the box. They were kind of holding it like floating over their hand. But because obviously you can't do that in real life, I am glad that they gave it a ring, because I was worried I was going to have to like figure out a way to like rubber band it to her hand. But she has the finger ring for it. So that is a very helpful and nice little touch here. Okay, so I think it's time we move into the final thoughts section for the dolls. So my overall thoughts are that, of course, I'm not going to just excuse away that there was definitely mistakes with my specific Lydia. However, I will say that I am grateful for the fact that they are not worse. There is a lot of mistakes that I haven't necessarily seen with these ones specifically, but just Mattel dolls in general, that I'm glad that these could have and they don't. So if I'm gonna have one that has like a weird error or something, at least thankfully again it's the back of her head, and it's something that like is manageable. I've seen ones, you know, obviously that have like big lip chips or, you know, weird printings or other like major like broken parts, crushed boxes. Like there's a litany of other things that could happen that are so much worse. So again, I'm not going to excuse it, and I'm not going to say like it's okay, like that wasn't a mistake. It definitely was, but again, there's worse mistakes that could happen, and it just kind of adds to the lore of these dolls. For me, I don't think it's really something that's going to affect the long-term enjoyment of these dolls. With that being said though, I will say I still think these are like an A++. I love a lot of the materials that are on these dolls. They're really fun to like touch and like look at. I think they look really good together. My only thing is, literally as I was setting this up, this bouquet like blended right into her dress. Like I was like, where did the bouquet go? Like, did I drop it? Like what happened? And nope, it was on her arm the whole time. It just blended right in. But I do really enjoy that they have side glances that look towards each other. Obviously Betelgeuse is much taller than Lydia. I kind of already showed her next to the little sister body earlier, because there's Chucky. So she's in the little sister body, and then this I believe is the regular body for Betelgeuse, as opposed to like Elvira that's on the big sister body. So again, we have the standard body for Betelgeuse and then the little sister body for Lydia to kind of make their height difference a little bit different, which I really appreciate when they play with heights on the dolls. Again, they do have 3, now 4 technically, body sculpts for Generation 1, because we also now have the Hocus Pocus dolls in their body, which is kind of a hybrid between Generation 3 and Generation 1. But yeah, I like when they kind of play with the different bodies and stuff like that they use. So I appreciate that these two are different heights, which kind of matches, if you can see, mine is obviously Chucky and Tiffany, but it matches the other 2 couples that we have. Again, I don't consider them like a shipping couple, but as far as dolls, it's a pair, you know what I mean? So yeah, overall, still absolutely stoked to have them in my collection. As a Betelgeuse person, personally, I think that they did a really good job representing these outfits as, you know, monster hi-fi'd, and I think they fit in really well with just like this general like design concept of the Skullector dolls. I think they kind of match the rest of them as much as they can, because obviously like every one of these Skullector dolls comes from different movies, so they're gonna have different aesthetics, but they still kind of have like a similar feel to them, if you will. So overall, like I said, I'm probably gonna say a million more times, I'm super happy with them. And again, they kind of were a high price point, being $100, but I've spent $100 on a single doll before, so spending $100 on a 2-pack is about what I expect. Anywhere between like $85 to $95 for the 2-pack, and then you have to add on shipping and tax and everything, which makes them just over $100. So as to be expected for the price point that we've been seeing from Mattel. It's nice that since I've started collecting, we haven't really seen too much of a hike in that price point from Creations. Knock on wood that it stays that way. So obviously these dolls are not going to be for everyone, but they definitely are for me. So thank you so much for coming along on this journey with me. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon in the next one. Bye.